Hi, it's Bumble. Welcome back to my channel. So this is a movie. I feel like when I first saw the poster, I ended up with like a false perception of it in my mind. The poster looks really cool, though it also kind of bothers me because the like hoodie that Matthew Broderick wears. Because this is a movie that takes place in medieval Italy. You're gonna hear me mention about that again for a different important reason. I think the poster is cool, but the like hoodie thing that Matthew Broderick wears, it looks like it's red here. It looks like it's like modern, but then his costume, because he plays a pickpocket in the movie, is brown and it doesn't have the strings or anything, and it looks like it fits, but here it just looks like it's a modern hoodie. The poster's actually really funny to me. Okay, so the movie's called Ladyhawke, and it's because the movie, it's interesting. It's like Matthew Broderick's character, Philippe, is this comedic pickpocket character that's like always getting into trouble. And he's the main character, but he feels like the main character in a way where it's like he's this like the comedic sidekick that becomes the main character kind of a vibe, in that he is basically, he's not like really what the story's about, but he's the one that kind of gets the plot moving, and that it's about these two lovers. And I find it an interesting concept, which makes my mixed feelings on the movie feel a bit disappointing, because halfway through the movie you learn the kind of true concept of it, of these two lovers that have this satanic curse on them where they are human on opposite sides of the day. So during the daytime, the woman becomes a hawk. That's why it's called Ladyhawke. And the man, who's not Matthew Broderick's character, it's a different character. He's like this former captain of the guards or whatever. He becomes a wolf during the day, and when it's like sunset, I think, or sunrise, they're both human. But the change for when they swap to which one's human and which one's an animal is so fast that like they can't even touch each other or anything. And I do like that it takes like halfway into the movie for that to be like fully revealed to the audience and to the thief character and stuff. Oh yeah, his character is nicknamed the Mouse, so there's even more like animal symbolism. He doesn't turn into a mouse though. He's just nicknamed that because he's like this pickpocket. And his thing is that at the start of the movie he escapes this prison that no one has ever been able to escape, or at least that's its reputation or whatever. I think he escapes through, he even says it himself, like an accident or something. So that's what he's like known for. And he's going to be captured and killed, and he gets saved by the captain of the former guards, who's like sort of an interesting character in that he's more of a main character than like the Ladyhawke woman, but he's not on the poster at all, not even in like the animal form or anything. Like I'd assumed from the poster when I first saw it, I thought, Matthew Broderick's character was going to be the main character, which is true. And I didn't realize like the hawk was supposed to be her, Michelle Pfeiffer's character. I thought she was like a separate character or something. I thought she was maybe like a really cool person that happened to have a hawk with her, but no, she turns into a hawk, and she's given the nickname Ladyhawke. But even though it's like her and her lover, they're human on opposite sides of the day, they don't really get like equal screen time or anything. It kind of just feels like she's along for the ride. It's interesting where it's like the ex like captain or whatever, I'm like forgetting his name right now. He can take care of himself. He has like fighting experience and stuff, and his personal thing is he's on a revenge quest to kill the bishop that caused the curse to happen in the first place. So that's his thing, but he takes care of the hawk during the day, like she hangs out with him and stuff. Oh yeah, and when they get turned into animals, they can't speak or anything. They're like described as almost like mindless in a sense. Like it's almost as if like they don't remember being human when they're turned into animals, so they have to kind of look out for each other. Or you'd expect it that they would look out for each other when, you know, it's the human and looking after the animal or something. And he looks after the hawk during the day, but she doesn't do the same thing for him at night. She's kind of just there. I don't think cares about killing the bishop or anything. She just misses her husband. Oh yeah, because they're like married, by the way. I forgot about that. I think the reason they get cursed is like this bishop is in love with the Ladyhawke, and she doesn't love him, and he finds out she's married and then decides to curse both of them. But she's kind of just there during the day. Like her husband's the one that kind of makes all the plans when he's like humans and stuff, and he kind of orders around like Matthew Broderick's character, and he's kind of roped into it in that they saved him and he's kind of forced to just do whatever they ask him. But then eventually, like once he learns their story, he feels bad for them and he's like, okay, I'm gonna like choose to help you this time. But yeah, when the ex-captain, the husband, is in the wolf form, his wife isn't taking care of him or anything. He's just like wandering around in the woods or whatever. They don't even ever find him until like morning or anything, where it's that he ends up finding them. So it's kind of interesting where it's like these different dynamics and stuff where the captain is given like more screen time and stuff, and he kind of doesn't really get along with Matthew Broderick's character, and is just kind of ordering him around, and they're like trying to get back to this town that the pickpocket had originally escaped from. And then when the hawk turns into a woman at night, her and the pickpocket, they're just chilling. They're just having like a good time, or they're having these really weird conversations, and he's supposed to be like in charge of her protecting her when it's nighttime, and that's kind of about it. Like there's some cool sequences with them though, where they have to there's this one part where they have to climb up this tower to escape these people that are trying to capture them, and the woman falls off the top of the tower, but it happens to be daytime now, like it's like morning, it's like perfect timing, and she turns into a hawk and flies away, and that, you know, saves her life. So there's like some small stuff like that that's kind of cool with the animal transformation stuff. Let me see what else. I have problems with the soundtrack. It doesn't sound bad. It's very 80s and very like synthesizer heavy, which is cool. That happens for a lot of 80s movies. The problem is this is a movie that takes place in medieval Italy, so that soundtrack should not sound like that. To be fair, not every song sounds like that, but most of it, especially during like the chase scenes or the fighting scenes, and those, you know, are usually more of the kind of serious parts. Or at least fight scenes should be the more serious parts of a story. Chase scenes I can understand a bit, especially because, like I said, the pickpocket is like a kind of comedic character anyway. But it is so out of place having that for like a historical type of, you know, it's set in the past movie, that it just turns every scene where there's like a song with like a bunch of synthesizers just a bit too comedic. I think my problem with the movie as well is like I really like the concept of like two lovers who are separated due to like opposite sides of the day, of like when they're turning into humans and when they're turning into animals and stuff, and I think that's really interesting, and I like how the movie plays with it. But then the rest of the movie, I just kind of have it's like that concept, the potential of it is sort of wasted on this movie in a sense. But yeah, the soundtrack I have a problem with, and it's just kind of a bummer because the movie like tries to take itself seriously, but just comes off as like it still comes off as like too comedic. Like the pickpocket, I'm fine with Matthew Broderick playing that character. This is from 1985. I don't remember what year Ferris Bueller's Day Off is from. I know that's like the movie everyone knows him for, either like that or The Lion King. But I feel like that character almost rubs off here in a sense of Matthew Broderick's character does this thing where he like talks to God. At first it's like taken kind of seriously of like okay, I'm gonna pray if you're gonna get me out of this situation, you know, I promise I won't steal again. And then he steals again like 5 seconds later. But then the talking to God thing becomes like a recurring thing where it's not in a sense of like a prayer of like, please get me out of danger, I hope this goes well or something. It's as if it's like almost the same way as like Ferris Bueller looking at the camera and talking to the audience throughout that movie, except here he's not looking at the camera, he's looking up because he's, you know, supposed to be talking to God. But it's like played off in the same way that it just comes off as almost a little like cringe in a sense. Like it's supposed to be funny, but it's not, and the rest of the movie takes itself seriously, so it just makes it stand out more, especially because he's like the stories about the lovers and reuniting them and stuff, and breaking the curse, but he's, you know, like the main character because he's the only one, because we're following his perspective, but also he's the only one, he's like the mediator between the couple, basically, where they'll be like, oh, tell me what so and so said during the day or at night or whatever, and he gets to like hang out with both of them and stuff. So to have this sort of main character be so comedic, he feels like the comedic sidekick role, it just feels weird. I don't like it. But the way the pickpocket gets caught is really funny to me, where, you know, he escapes this dungeon that no one's ever escaped before, and then he goes to this place to like have a drink or something, and then announces to everyone that he escaped, and he escaped the prison that no one was able to escape, and then he's immediately caught by the bad guys because they're also there, and they're like, hey, you're the person we're looking for, and they have like a little chase sequence and they catch him, and he gets saved. He gets saved by the ex-captain guy, and he gets to meet some of his guards too that recognize him, and they're like, hey, you were the guy that was the former captain of the Royal Guard, or not the Royal Guard, but like the guard or whatever, that got replaced. But yeah, there's a couple of fight scenes in this movie. The soundtrack kind of ruins them a bit, but the later ones where it's finally like more fitting music, like there's this scene at the end where the like knight character, he's the one that's like the former captain, has to like fight a couple people, and those fights are taken seriously. It's like inside of a church. It's pretty cool. Let me see what else. I have to like scroll through my notes. I actually didn't really write that many notes, but this movie does try to be actually, no, the one problem I have in the fight in the church is that there's this one part, for whatever reason, that just ends up being in slow motion, and it comes off as like a bit cringe. Like it was probably supposed to be dramatic, and I feel like slow motion can be dramatic or suspenseful when it's used right, but in that scene it just felt kind of lame. And the rest of the fight was like fine and everything. But yeah, the movie does have some moments where it like tries to be sentimental, and it's kind of nice. Like there's a part where you get to actually see what happens when the two lovers, they get put in a hole and it's sunrise. So the woman, the guy is turning back from like a wolf into a human, and the woman is turning from a human into a hawk, and like just as the sun's coming up, they get to be human at the same time for like a second, and they try to touch, except the guy has like wolf pupils, like he hasn't fully changed yet, and they try to touch hands, and then she just immediately turns into a hawk and then flies away, and he gets really pissed. It sounds kind of funny now the way I'm describing it, but it's like played super seriously, in the movie. And then when they get to reunite at the end, when the curse is broken and they get to both be human again and actually like interact and touch each other and stuff, that part's kind of sweet actually. And I do like the idea of, because the knight, he believes if he kills the priest, or not the priest, the bishop, that it'll break the curse. Except that's not how it's supposed to be done. Oh yeah, there's a fourth character I forgot to mention. There's a monk, and he somehow knows that the way the curse will be broken, it's said in a way of like when day without night and night without day, and some of the characters don't believe him on that because they're too focused on the whole like revenge quest thing, but that actually turns out to mean just a solar eclipse. There's a solar eclipse that happens the day they're trying to kill the priest, which is on purpose actually. I think they plan it that way, because the thing with the solar eclipse, or the way to break the curse, is like the two lovers have to stand in like human form against the bishop, and you'd think like, oh okay, so it's impossible because, you know, day and night always happens, but the day there's a solar eclipse, it's, you know, technically not night or day, so in that sense, so they just both end up as human. It's like the curse doesn't work, and then they're in front of the bishop, and that's it. Because if they kill the bishop, I think the curse never breaks, so they would just be in their like loop of constantly transforming and stuff forever. But they stand in front of the bishop and it breaks the curse. And it's kind of funny because like the bishop tries to kill the woman, and the guy, I thought it would be more dramatic of him killing the bishop, which is like the thing he's wanted to do the entire movie, but he just throws a sword at him, and it, you know, it lands and it stabs him and he dies, and that's it, because with the curse broken, there's nothing, you know, stopping them from killing the bishop, and then the movie just ends. I thought that the pickpocket character would be like compensated for his time of, you know, he didn't want to, he's kind of funny in the sense of like he didn't want to be involved in any of this. He, you know, he gets his life saved, he thanks them, he's like, thanks for saving my life, I'm gonna go, and they're like, no, you have to go back to the city that you escaped from and be our guide to like sneak into the church and help us kill the bishop or whatever. And they force him into it, actually. They like, I think, threaten to kill him or something if he doesn't help them. And I mean, they do give their thanks at the end when they're both human. They say like, oh, you're the truest friend we've ever had, and they both like, I think, give him a kiss on the cheek or something, and then he leaves. And I think he leaves with the monk. At first I thought that meant that he would be like joining the monk or something, because like, what's this guy gonna do? Is he really gonna risk like pickpocketing again and ending up back in that dungeon, especially because he's in the same town he was in the beginning, but I think they all like go their separate ways or whatever. But I feel like he should have been compensated somehow for like not just being able to help them get into the church to kill the bishop, but he had to go with them like for the entire journey, and he was responsible for like looking after the Ladyhawke and protecting her when it was like nighttime and stuff. And this pickpocket guy, he doesn't have like fighting experience. Like, he's quick and nimble, there's a reason like he has the nickname the Mouse, but he doesn't fight or anything, so you know, he's really sticking his neck out there, and they don't really like give him any, he doesn't get like a reward or anything when the job's done. He actually tries to sneak out after the lovers are reunited. Like, you can tell he's had character development. I mean, he probably will continue to steal or whatever, but you can tell he's like a nicer person. Not that he starts off as like a jerk or anything, but he, you know, at first he doesn't want to help them, and then he decides to willingly, and he's like happy to actually see them together and stuff. It's like emotional for him too. But yeah, I feel like he should have gotten a reward. But yeah, that's pretty much like all my notes. I didn't really have much. But yeah, I feel like this movie is a cool concept. The soundtrack lets it down, but I also feel like it just comes off as like it wants to be serious, but I think with some of the acting too, it comes off as like a little silly. And Matthew Broderick's pickpocket character, at the beginning I felt like he was kind of annoying. I was fine with him later on in the movie, but especially at the start with his like jokes and stuff, of like the way he talks to God, like it's like the things he says where he's like doing it in more of like a joking way. The jokes themselves just like aren't funny. They just kind of come off as like cringe. But yeah, that's why I feel mixed on it. So I don't know if I could recommend it. I mean, it's not a bad movie. I want to clarify that. I just it's like it's a cool concept, but it's kind of brought down by some of the other stuff. It's kind of like weighted down a bit. But I think it's still worth a watch anyway. I don't regret watching it. I'd meant to for like a while. I have like a bunch of movies on Tubi I'm trying to get through right now, and there's gonna be like more. But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on it. Okay, bye bye. Thanks for watching.